The stars stretched endlessly across the viewport of the Crystalline Dawn, a massive exploration vessel belonging to the Galactic Council. Inside the command center, Captain Vex Thor stood with his forearms crossed behind his back, studying the display screens with his large, dark eyes. The Alcarian commander had spent 30 years exploring the Outer Rim territories, but nothing had prepared him for what his crew had just discovered. "Captain, the readings are confirmed," Lieutenant Cora announced from her station. The Zenti officer's purple skin seemed to shimmer under the blue lights of the bridge. "The object is definitely a ship. Size estimated at 3.2 kilometers in length." Vex Thor felt a thrill run through his body. A ship that size could change everything. Most exploration vessels barely reached half a kilometer. This was enormous, possibly ancient, and floating dead in space with no power signature. "Can you determine its origin?" he asked, moving closer to her station. Cora's slender fingers danced across her console, pulling up more data. Her face changed from excitement to confusion, then to something that looked like fear. "Captain, the hull composition is reading as Class-15 material." The bridge fell silent. Every crew member turned to look at the captain. Class-15 was a rating given only to materials from Deathworlds, planets so hostile that the environment created impossibly strong substances just to exist there. Gravity crushers, toxic atmospheres, extreme radiation, predators at every level of the food chain. Worlds where the Council sent mining drones, never living beings. "That cannot be correct," Vex Thor said, though his voice carried doubt. "Run the scan again." Cora did so, her hands shaking slightly. The results came back identical. "Confirmed, Captain. The hull is composed of iron-nickel alloys with carbon composite layering. Density levels match Class-15 specifications. There are also traces of titanium and other heavy metals throughout the structure." Engineer Draxus, a stocky Brenthian with gray skin like rock, whistled low. "No wonder it looks intact. That hull could survive a supernova and barely get scratched." Vex Thor made his decision quickly. This was the opportunity of a lifetime. If they could salvage even a portion of that ship, the technology alone would advance their civilizations by centuries. Class-15 materials were virtually indestructible. Ships built with them would be unstoppable. "Prepare a boarding party," he ordered. "Full protective gear. I want sensors, engineers, and security. We do this carefully." Over the next 2 hours, the crew assembled their equipment. The boarding party consisted of 6 members, each chosen for their expertise. Draxus would handle any technical systems they encountered. Cora would manage sensors and scanning. 4 security officers would provide protection, though Vex Thor privately wondered what threats could survive on a dead ship floating in space. They suited up in the docking bay, wearing reinforced armor that could withstand most known hazards. The suits were bulky and limited movement, but necessary. Nobody knew what they might find inside a Class-15 vessel. "Remember," Vex Thor addressed his team, "we do not know how long this ship has been drifting. The atmosphere may be toxic or non-existent. Structural integrity could be compromised. Stay together, report everything, and at the first sign of danger, we evacuate immediately." The team nodded their understanding. They boarded a small shuttle and detached from the Crystalline Dawn, crossing the short distance to the massive derelict ship. As they approached, its true size became apparent. The vessel dwarfed their shuttle like a moon beside a pebble. The hull was dark gray, almost black, with a surface that absorbed light rather than reflecting it. Strange markings covered sections of the exterior, symbols unlike any language in the Council database. Whatever civilization built this ship, they were unknown to galactic records. Draxus guided the shuttle to what appeared to be a docking port on the lower section. "There," he pointed. "That looks like an airlock. Standard design, though much larger than our specifications." They carefully maneuvered the shuttle into position and extended their docking tube. It sealed against the hull with a hiss. Vex Thor checked his suit readings one final time, then nodded to his team. "Let us proceed." The airlock opened with surprising ease, as if the mechanisms still functioned despite years of abandonment. They entered a small chamber, and the outer door sealed behind them. Then, to everyone's shock, atmosphere began flooding the room. "The ship has power," Cora whispered, her voice crackling through the communication system. Minimal, but definitely active. They waited as the chamber pressurized. When the inner door opened, they stepped into a cargo bay so vast that their lights barely reached the far walls. The artificial gravity activated immediately, pulling them down with force that made several team members stumble. "Heavy gravity," Draxus grunted, struggling to stay upright. .7 above standard. Consistent with Class 15 ratings. They moved deeper into the ship, their lights cutting through the darkness. The corridors were wide enough for 5 people to walk side by side, and the ceilings stretched high overhead. Everything was built on a massive scale, designed for beings much larger than most known species. Cora stopped suddenly, scanning a wall panel. "Captain, I am detecting thermal signatures. Faint, but present. Deep within the ship's interior sections." Vex Thor frowned. "Residual heat from the reactor core, most likely. This ship still has some power generation functioning." But Cora looked uncertain. "The signatures are not consistent with reactor output. They are dispersed throughout multiple sections. Almost like..." A distant sound echoed through the corridor. Metal on metal, rhythmic and deliberate. Footsteps. The boarding party froze, hands moving to their weapons. The sound grew louder, coming from somewhere ahead in the darkness. Multiple sources, moving with purpose. "Defensive formation," Vex Thor commanded quietly, his heart's pounding. "Something is alive on this ship." The footsteps grew closer, steady and unhurried. Then, around the corner ahead, a light appeared. A figure emerged from the shadows, silhouetted against a pale glow. It stood on 2 legs, roughly 2 meters tall, wearing strange clothing that looked more like work garments than protective gear. In its hands, it carried some kind of container filled with tools. The being stopped when it saw the boarding party, looking just as surprised as they were. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then the figure raised one hand in what might have been a greeting and spoke in a language none of them recognized. The voice was deep, resonant, and utterly alien. The crew of the Crystalline Dawn had just made first contact with humanity. Jacob Miller had been having a normal day, or at least as normal as days got on a ship that had been drifting through space for 200 years. He had been checking the water recycling systems in Section 7 when the proximity alarms started going off. Something had docked with the Defiant Spirit. He grabbed his toolbox out of habit and headed toward the breach point. Maybe it was debris, maybe a malfunction. Either way, he needed to check it out before waking the captain. Linda Hayes got cranky when people woke her for false alarms. The corridor lights flickered on as he walked, responding to his presence. The ship still had power, thank God for that. The reactor had been running on minimal output for decades, keeping essential systems alive while most of the crew slept in cryopods. Only a skeleton crew of 20 remained awake on rotating shifts, maintaining the ship until they figured out where the hell they were. Jacob rounded the corner and stopped dead. 6 figures stood in the hallway, wearing bulky armor and carrying weapons. But they were not human. Not even close. One looked like a tall, thin person with 4 arms and huge black eyes. Another was shorter and stocky, with gray skin that resembled stone. A third had purple skin that seemed to glow in the dim light. They all stared at him with expressions ranging from shock to fear. "Well, this is new," Jacob muttered. He raised one hand slowly, trying to look non-threatening. "Hey there. Welcome aboard the Defiant Spirit. You folks lost or something?" The aliens did not respond, though several of them tightened their grip on their weapons. Jacob noticed they were shaking. Actually shaking. These heavily armed visitors were terrified of him. "Computer," he called out, still keeping his hands visible. "Alert Captain Hayes. Tell her we have visitors in Section 7. One of the aliens made a chirping sound and spoke into a device on its wrist. Jacob caught a few words that his translator implant tried to process, but the language was completely unknown. Great. First contact with aliens, and nobody could understand anybody. He slowly lowered his toolbox to the floor and stepped back. "Look, I do not know what you are doing here, but you are obviously not here to attack us. You look more scared than I am. How about we all just calm down and figure this out?" More footsteps echoed through the corridor. The aliens spun around, weapons raised, as a dozen more humans came running. Most were armed with standard sidearms, nothing too heavy. The aliens looked ready to bolt. Captain Linda Hayes pushed through the group, taking in the scene with quick efficiency. She was a veteran of Earth's colony wars, tough as nails and smart as they came. Her brown hair was pulled back in a practical bun, and her gray eyes assessed the situation instantly. "Stand down," she ordered her crew, then looked at the aliens. "I am Captain Linda Hayes of the Earth vessel Defiant Spirit. Can you understand me?" The tallest alien, the one with 4 arms, touched something on its suit. A mechanical voice spoke in awkward English. Translation active. "I am Captain Vex Thor of the Galactic Council vessel Crystalline Dawn. We detected your ship and believed it to be abandoned. We meant no intrusion." Linda relaxed slightly but kept her guard up. "Galactic Council? Never heard of it. Where are you from?" Vex Thor seemed confused by the question. "We represent 17 civilized species across 400 star systems. You are saying you are not aware of the Council?" "Lady, until 5 minutes ago, we thought we were alone in the universe," Jacob called out. "We left Earth 200 years ago on a colony mission. Something went wrong with our navigation. We have been lost ever since." The aliens exchanged glances. One of them, the purple-skinned one, was scanning the humans with a handheld device. Her eyes widened as she read the results. "Captain Vex Thor," she said urgently, "the biosigns are reading Class 15 origin. These beings are from a Deathworld." The reaction was immediate. Several aliens stepped backward. One dropped its weapon in shock. Vex Thor's dark eyes went even wider, if that was possible. "That is impossible," he said, his translator making his voice sound hollow. "No sapient species can evolve on a Class 15 planet. The conditions are too extreme. Life cannot advance beyond simple organisms." Linda frowned. "What the hell is a Class 15 planet?" The purple-skinned alien, Cora, explained in a shaking voice. "Worlds classified as 15 on the danger scale. Extreme gravity, hostile atmosphere, aggressive biological systems, frequent natural disasters. Only automated mining drones can survive there. The materials are valuable, but the planets themselves are death traps." "You are describing Earth," one of the human crew members said, confused. "That is just what Earth is like." The aliens looked horrified. Vex Thor took a moment to compose himself before speaking. "You are telling me that you evolved naturally on a planet rated as maximally hostile to life?" "I guess so," Linda said. "Earth has gravity, weather, bacteria, animals. Sure, some of them can kill you, but that is just normal. You learn to deal with it." "Just normal," Cora repeated faintly. "They consider Class 15 conditions normal." Draxus, the gray-skinned engineer, was staring at Jacob with open fascination. "How much can you lift?" "In standard weight units." Jacob shrugged. "I do not know your measurements. On Earth, I can lift about 100 kilos, maybe more if I really try." "Why? That is 3 times what I can lift," Draxus said in amazement. "And I am considered strong among my people." "The gravity here," Cora added, checking her scanner. "It is 0.7 above our standard. This is comfortable for you." "It is a bit light, actually," another human said. "Earth's gravity is about 0.3 higher than this. We set the ship to lower levels to save power." The aliens looked at each other in disbelief. Linda was starting to understand the situation. These beings came from worlds much gentler than Earth. To them, humans were the scary monsters from nightmare planets. "Listen," she said carefully, "we are not going to hurt anyone. We are just as surprised as you are. Why do not we all go somewhere more comfortable and talk? We can share information, figure out where we are, maybe help each other." Vex Thor hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Agreed. But I must inform you, Captain Hayes, that your existence will shock the entire Galactic Council. Humanity is something unprecedented. You are proof that intelligence can emerge from conditions we thought impossible." Linda smiled slightly. "Well, we have always been stubborn. Come on, I will show you to the meeting room. Fair warning, though, the chairs might be a bit big for you. We will figure it out." As the two groups began walking together through the corridors, the humans chatting casually while the aliens looked around in amazement. Jacob picked up his toolbox and followed. History was being made today. First contact with alien life. And apparently, humans were the scary ones. He grinned. Wait until the aliens tried Earth coffee. That would really blow their minds. The meeting room on the Defiant Spirit had been designed for human comfort, which meant it was oversized and intimidating for the alien visitors. The chairs were too large, the table too high, and even the air felt thick to beings adapted to lighter atmospheric pressure. Captain Vex Thor sat awkwardly in a seat designed for someone twice his mass, his legs dangling above the floor. Linda Hayes sat across from him, looking completely at ease despite hosting the first diplomatic meeting between humanity and alien life. Around the table sat representatives from both ships, humans on one side and the mixed alien crew on the other. The contrast was striking. So let me get this straight, Linda said, reviewing the information on her datapad. You have 17 different species in your Galactic Council, spread across 400 systems, and nobody has ever met a species from a Class-15 world before? Correct, Vex Thor confirmed. We mined such worlds for materials, but we never expected to find intelligent life. The conditions are simply too severe. Most worlds barely develop simple cellular organisms before environmental pressures eliminate them. But Earth is covered in life, said Ben Parker, the Defiant Spirit's chief biologist. He was a lean man in his 40s with graying hair and an excited gleam in his eyes. We have millions of species. Everything from bacteria to blue whales. Life is everywhere on our planet. Cora shook her head in disbelief. Blue whales? What are those? Massive sea creatures, Ben explained enthusiastically. They can grow up to 30 meters long and weigh over 150 tons. They live in Earth's oceans, which cover about 70% of the surface. The aliens stared at him in stunned silence. Finally, Draxus spoke up. You have creatures that large just swimming around? Are they predators? No, actually they eat tiny organisms called krill. Though we do have predators in the oceans too. Sharks, orcas, giant squids. The ocean is pretty competitive. Competitive, Cora repeated weakly. You describe an environment filled with massive predators as competitive. Well, yeah, Ben said, puzzled by their reaction. Life on Earth adapts. If you are not strong enough or fast enough or smart enough, you die. That is just how evolution works. Linda decided to move the conversation forward. Look, we can discuss Earth's biology later. Right now, we need to figure out our situation. We have been lost for 200 years. Our navigation systems failed during a jump, and we have been drifting ever since. We need help finding our way home. Vex Thor nodded, grateful for the change of subject. We can provide you with updated star charts and navigation data. In return, we must ask about your technology. This ship, the Defiant Spirit, is built from Class-15 materials. How did you achieve such construction? We built it on Earth, Linda said simply. Steel, titanium, carbon composites. Standard construction materials. This is actually a colony ship, not a military vessel. We were supposed to settle a new world. Standard materials, Draxus echoed. He looked physically pained. Captain Hayes, these materials take us years to mine using specialized equipment. You are saying you mass-produce them? Sure, Jacob called out from where he leaned against the wall. Earth has plenty of metal. We have been working with iron and steel for thousands of years. It is basic technology for us. The aliens exchanged troubled glances. Vex Thor spoke carefully. Captain, I must inform you that your ship's hull alone is worth more than most planetary economies. The materials you consider standard are precious resources for the rest of the galaxy. Linda absorbed this information thoughtfully. Interesting. Very interesting. Can we discuss the food situation? Asked Danny Cooper, the ship's supply officer. He was a big man with an easy smile, currently holding a mug of coffee that the aliens eyed nervously. I am curious what you folks eat. We have standard nutrition supplements, Cora explained. Carefully balanced formulas that provide all necessary nutrients without any harmful substances. Very safe and efficient. Sounds boring, Danny said cheerfully. Want to try some human food? We have fresh supplies from the hydroponics bay. Before the aliens could respond, Karen Phillips entered the room carrying a tray. The ship's medical officer was a calm, professional woman who had prepared a selection of what she considered mild human foods. Crackers with cheese, some sliced fruit, and a few cookies. I brought some basic items, Karen said, setting the tray down. Nothing too exotic. These should be safe for most biological systems. The aliens approached the food cautiously, as if it might explode. Cora scanned everything with her handheld device. Her expression shifted from curious to alarmed. These items contain toxic compounds, she announced. This one has high concentrations of sodium chloride. This fruit has citric acid. And these sweet items contain processed sugars and fats that would severely damage our digestive systems. The humans looked confused. That is just salt, lemon, and cookies, Karen said. They are completely normal foods. Normal, Cora stressed, for beings with Class 15 biology. Your bodies process toxins as nutrients. You consume substances that would hospitalize my people. Our immune systems are pretty robust, Karen admitted. We have to deal with Earth's bacteria, viruses, parasites. Our bodies learn to handle a lot of different threats. Show them the gym, Danny suggested with a grin. They will love that. 20 minutes later, the alien delegation stood in the ship's fitness center, watching in horror as several crew members exercised. Peter Jackson, a muscular security officer, was bench-pressing weights that totaled over 200 kilograms. He was sweating but seemed barely challenged. This is recreation? Vex Thor asked weakly. You deliberately stress your bodies for enjoyment? It keeps us strong and healthy, Peter explained between reps. Back on Earth, I could press even more. The lower gravity here makes it easier. Easier, Draxus repeated. He looked at his own thin arms and sighed. I could not lift what you are using to warm up. In the corner, a female crew member named Lisa Grant was running on a treadmill set to a steep incline. She waved cheerfully at the visitors while maintaining a pace that would exhaust most aliens in minutes. How long can she continue that activity? Cora asked. Oh, Lisa is training for marathons, Danny said. She usually runs for about 2 hours every day. Sometimes more. 2 hours, Cora said faintly, of continuous high-intensity exercise. She is trying to beat her record from Earth, Danny added. 42 kilometers in under 3 hours. She is determined. The aliens could only stare. These humans pushed themselves to extremes for fun. They ate toxins, breathed thick atmosphere, and lived in heavy gravity without complaint. Everything about them was impossible by known standards. Vex Thor turned to Linda, who had accompanied them on the tour. Captain Hayes, I must be honest with you. The Galactic Council will not know how to respond to humanity's existence. You are beyond our understanding of what is possible. Linda smiled. Well, we are pretty good at surprising people. But here is the thing, Captain. We did not come out here to scare anyone. We came to explore, to learn, to find new homes for our people. Earth is getting crowded, and we need room to grow. If your council can accept us, we would like to be part of this galactic community. And if the council fears you? Vex Thor asked quietly. Linda's smile faded. Then we will prove that humans are worth knowing. We survived Earth by adapting, by working together, by never giving up. Those same qualities make us good allies and good friends. We just need a chance to show everyone that. Vex Thor considered her words, watching Peter Jackson finish his workout and move on to even heavier weights. The captain made a decision. Then we will give you that chance, Captain Hayes. The galaxy is about to change. Whether it is ready or not, humanity has arrived. News of humanity's discovery spread through council space like wildfire. Within days, the communication networks were buzzing with reports about the impossible species from a Class-15 Deathworld. Some council members called for immediate study, others demanded caution, and a few suggested more drastic measures. On the defiant spirit, Linda Hayes was dealing with an increasing number of communication requests. Scientists wanted samples. Diplomats wanted meetings. Military commanders wanted threat assessments. Everyone wanted something from humanity, and nobody seemed interested in simply talking to them as equals. "This is getting ridiculous," she said, closing another message from a research institute offering to pay for human biological samples. "They treat us like we are exotic animals instead of people." Jacob sat across from her in the captain's office, reviewing technical specifications that Draxus had shared. "Can you blame them? We are pretty exotic by their standards. I have been reading about the other species. Most of them evolved on low-gravity worlds with stable climates and minimal predators. Earth would kill them in days." "That does not make us monsters," Linda argued. "We are just adapted to our environment. Every species is." "Yeah, but our environment is hell compared to theirs." Jacob pulled up an image on his datapad. "Look at this. The Zenti homeworld has 0.6 Earth gravity and an average temperature of 20 degrees Celsius year-round. No extreme weather, no tectonic activity, no major predators. It is like a paradise planet." Linda studied the image of purple skies and gentle landscapes. "Sounds boring." Jacob laughed. "That is the most human response possible. They show us paradise and we call it boring." A chime interrupted them. Karen Phillips entered, looking concerned. "Captain, we have a situation in the medical bay. One of the Alcarian crew members tried to eat something from our cafeteria and got sick. Vex Thor is requesting a meeting about safety protocols." Linda sighed and stood up. "Of course he is. Come on, let us go deal with this." In the medical bay, they found Vex Thor standing beside a bed where one of his crew members lay looking miserable. The Alcarian skin had taken on a grayish tint, and he groaned softly. "What happened?" Linda asked. "Ensign Croth thought he would try human food," Vex Thor explained, clearly frustrated. "Despite multiple warnings, he consumed something called a sandwich. Peanut butter and jelly, I believe." Karen checked her medical scanner. "He is having an allergic reaction to the peanuts. His system cannot process the proteins. I have given him antihistamines adapted for Alcarian biology. He will be fine in a few hours, but it will be uncomfortable." "This is precisely the problem," Vex Thor said, turning to Linda. "Everything about your species is dangerous to us. Your food is toxic, your gravity is crushing, even your atmosphere has too much oxygen. How can we possibly coexist when simply being near you is hazardous?" Linda understood his frustration, but she also knew fear when she heard it. "Captain, with respect, we are not the ones who boarded your ship uninvited. We did not ask to be discovered. We have been minding our own business for 200 years, just trying to find our way home." Vex Thor's shoulders sagged. "You are right, of course. I apologize. This situation is unprecedented, and I am struggling to understand how to proceed." "Then let us figure it out together," Linda suggested. "We will establish clear safety protocols. Humans stay in our sections unless invited to yours with proper protection. Your people do the same when visiting our areas. We share information carefully and make sure everyone understands the risks." "That would be acceptable," Vex Thor agreed, "though it does not solve the larger problem. When we reach council space, there will be questions, concerns. Some species may see humanity as a threat." "Are we a threat?" Linda asked directly. Vex Thor considered the question carefully. "Not intentionally, no. But your capabilities are frightening. Your ship's construction, your physical strength, your resistance to conditions that would kill us. If humanity decided to become aggressive, very few species could stop you." "But we have not decided that," Linda pointed out. "Look at our history, Captain. Yes, humans have fought wars. We have made mistakes. But we have also built civilizations, created art, explored our solar system, and reached out to the stars looking for friendship, not conquest. We are not perfect, but we are not monsters." Before Vex Thor could respond, alarms began blaring throughout both ships. Cora's voice crackled over the communication system. "Captain Vex Thor, we are detecting multiple vessels approaching at high speed. Configuration matches known pirate raiders." Both captains raced to the bridge of the Crystalline Dawn. The view screen showed 6 ships closing in, their weapon systems powering up. They were crewed vessels, cobbled together from various technologies, but heavily armed. "They must have been tracking us," Vexthor said, his voice tight. "Pirates often follow Council exploration vessels, hoping to salvage valuable discoveries." "Can you fight them off?" Linda asked. "Our shields are not designed for combat. We are an exploration vessel. Against 1 or 2 pirates, perhaps, but 6. He shook his head. "We should attempt to flee." "They will just follow you," Jacob said, studying the tactical display. "And they will destroy you the moment you try to run." The lead pirate ship opened a communication channel. A harsh voice spoke in a guttural language that the translator rendered into English. "Council vessel, power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Surrender your cargo and you will not be harmed." Vexthor looked defeated. He had no choice but to comply or watch his crew die. But before he could respond, Linda grabbed his arm. "Do you trust me?" she asked. "What? Do you trust me to protect your ship?" Vexthor looked into her eyes and saw something there, a confidence born from a lifetime on a world that tried to kill her every day. He nodded slowly. "Jacob, get back to our ship," Linda ordered. "Power up all systems. Weapons hot. Let us show these pirates what happens when they threaten our friends." "With pleasure, Captain." The Defiant Spirit had been running on minimal power, looking like a dead hulk attached to the crystalline dawn. But now it came alive. Lights blazed across its hull. The reactor surged to full output. And weapon systems designed to punch through asteroid fields for mining operations rotated toward the pirate fleet. The lead pirate ship hesitated, clearly confused by this new development. Then they opened fire on the Defiant Spirit, assuming it would fall as easily as the Council vessel. The plasma bolts struck the hull and dissipated harmlessly against Class-15 armor. The pirates might as well have been throwing rocks at a mountain. "Return fire," Linda commanded calmly. The Defiant Spirit's mining lasers were designed to cut through solid rock and metal. Against the cobbled-together hulls of pirate ships, they were devastating. The first shot punched clean through the lead vessel, vaporizing its reactor core. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash. The remaining pirates scattered, firing wildly. But they were used to fighting lightly armored Council vessels, not something built to survive Earth's harshest conditions. Their weapons were useless, while every shot from the Defiant Spirit found its mark. Ben Parker, manning the weapons console, had grown up hunting in Alaska. He tracked the fleeing ships with the patience of someone who had stalked grizzly bears. His shots were precise and efficient. 2 more pirate vessels exploded. A 4th lost its engines and went tumbling through space. The remaining 2 ships jumped to faster-than-light speed, fleeing as fast as their drives could carry them. The entire battle lasted less than 3 minutes. On the bridge of the Crystalline Dawn, Vexthor and his crew stood in shocked silence. They had just watched a human ship, supposedly a civilian colony vessel, utterly destroy a pirate fleet that would have overwhelmed them. "That was," Vexthor began, then paused, searching for words. "That was incredible." Linda smiled slightly. "That was us defending our friends. You helped us when we were lost, Captain. Humans do not forget that kind of kindness." Cora was studying her sensor readings, her hands trembling. "The power output from your weapons, the precision of your targeting, the speed of your responses. How did you learn to fight like that?" Linda thought about Earth's history. The countless conflicts, the arms races, the constant struggle against nature itself. "We learned by surviving, Lieutenant. On Earth you fight or you die. It is that simple." Draxus spoke up from his station. "The other Council members need to see this. They need to understand what humanity can do." "Not just what we can do," Linda corrected gently. "What we will do when our friends are threatened. There is a difference." Vexthor nodded slowly, understanding dawning in his eyes. Humanity was not just strong. They were loyal. They were protective. And they had just proven they would fight for species they had barely met. "Captain Hayes," he said formally, "I believe the Galactic Council needs to make room for humanity. Not as specimens or weapons, but as equals and allies." "That is all we have ever wanted," Linda replied. 3 weeks later, the Defiant Spirit and the Crystalline Dawn approached Council Station Alpha, a massive orbital facility that served as the Galactic Council's primary meeting point. The station was beautiful, a gleaming structure of silver and crystal that reflected the light of the nearby star. Thousands of ships from dozens of species docked there regularly, conducting the business of interstellar civilization. But today, the station was buzzing with unusual activity. Word of humanity's arrival had spread across Council space, and representatives from every member species had gathered to witness first contact with the Deathworlders. On the Defiant Spirits Bridge, Linda watched the station grow larger on the view screen. Beside her stood several crew members, all dressed in formal uniforms that had been packed away for 200 years. They looked sharp, professional, and completely human. "Nervous?" Jacob asked quietly. "Terrified," Linda admitted. "We are about to meet representatives from 17 different species, none of whom have any idea what to make of us. Half of them probably think we are dangerous monsters. The other half probably think we are fascinating monsters," Jacob said with a slight grin. "At least we have Vex Thor vouching for us." That was true. Over the past 3 weeks, the Alcarian captain had sent numerous reports to the Council, describing humanity in terms that were both honest and favorable. He had explained the rescue from the pirates, the willingness to share information, and the clear desire for peaceful cooperation. His testimony carried weight. "Incoming transmission from Station Alpha," announced Lisa Grant from the communications console. "They are requesting we dock at Bay 12 and proceed to Council Chamber 1 for formal introduction." "Acknowledged," Linda replied. "Take us in." The docking procedure was smooth, though Linda noticed the station's security forces were out in full strength. Armed guards from multiple species lined the docking bay, watching the human ship carefully. They were not hostile, but they were clearly prepared for trouble. As the crew disembarked, they were met by Vex Thor and an escort of Council officials. Among them was an elderly being who appeared to be some kind of bird-like species, with feathers of silver and gold and intelligent eyes that studied the humans carefully. "Captain Hayes," Vex Thor said warmly, "may I introduce Council Speaker Thalrix? He leads the Council Assembly and has requested to meet you personally." Linda stepped forward and extended her hand, then remembered aliens might not understand human gestures. But Thalrix surprised her by reaching out with a wing-like appendage and gently touching her palm. "Captain Hayes," he said, his voice melodic and clear through the translator. "Welcome to Council Station Alpha. Your arrival has caused quite a stir among our members." "I imagine it has," Linda said. "We did not mean to cause any disruption. We are just travelers looking for a place in the galaxy." "A place you have certainly earned," Thalrix replied. "Captain Vex Thor's reports have been most enlightening. Come, the Council is eager to meet you." They walked through corridors that were beautiful but clearly not designed for humans. The ceilings were low, the doorways narrow, and the gravity felt uncomfortably light. The humans adjusted their stride, trying not to appear awkward. The Council chamber was an enormous circular room with seating arranged in tiers around a central platform. Representatives from all 17 species were present, along with support staff and observers. Hundreds of eyes turned to watch as the human delegation entered. Linda had faced dangerous situations before, but this was different. These were not enemies to fight, but potential allies to convince. The weight of representing her entire species pressed down on her shoulders. "Members of the Galactic Council," Thalrix announced, his voice amplified throughout the chamber. "I present to you Captain Linda Hayes and the crew of the Earth vessel Defiant Spirit, the first representatives of humanity to address this body." The chamber erupted in noise. Some species chittered excitedly, others remained silent and watchful. A few looked openly afraid. Linda took her place on the central platform and waited for quiet. "Thank you for seeing us," she began, her voice steady. "I know our existence has caused concern. We are from a world you classify as Class-15, a designation that carries implications of danger and hostility. I will not lie to you. Earth is a harsh world. It has high gravity, aggressive biology, and environmental challenges that would kill most species represented here." She paused, looking around the chamber. "But Earth is also our home. It is where humanity learned to stand upright, to use tools, to build civilizations. Every challenge Earth threw at us, we overcame. Not through violence or aggression, but through cooperation, innovation, and determination. Those same qualities brought us to the stars. A reptilian delegate spoke up, his voice hissing slightly. You speak of peace, but we have seen your military capabilities. Your ship destroyed 6 pirate vessels in minutes. How can we trust that such power will not be turned against us? Because we chose not to, Linda replied simply. When Captain Vexthor's ship was threatened, we could have let the pirates take it. We could have used the chaos to escape and disappear into space. Instead, we fought to protect beings we had just met. That is who we are. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. A small, furry delegate raised a paw. But your biology, your strength, your resistance to toxins. You are superior to us in every physical way. How can we coexist as equals when you are so clearly dominant? Karen Phillips stepped forward. May I address that question, Captain? Linda nodded, and Karen moved to the platform. I am the Chief Medical Officer of the Defiant Spirit. Yes, humans are physically strong by your standards. But we are not invulnerable. We get sick, we get hurt, we die. Earth made us tough, but it did not make us gods. And superior is a poor word. We are different, not better. She pulled up a holographic display showing comparative biology. Look at the Zenti. They have natural telepathic abilities that humans lack. The Brenthians can process complex mathematics instantly in their minds. The Alcarians can see into spectrums of light we cannot perceive. Every species here has unique advantages. Humanity's strength is just one trait among many. Ben Parker added his voice. We want to learn from you. Earth biology is all we know. Imagine what we could discover by studying how life evolved on gentler worlds. Imagine what we could teach each other. The chamber fell quiet as the council members absorbed this. Finally, a delegate from a species that resembled tall, thin plants spoke. Her voice was soft but carried clearly. What do humans want from the council? Linda answered honestly. 3 things. First, help finding Earth. We have been lost for 200 years and we want to go home. Second, trade agreements. We have resources that are valuable to you, and you have knowledge valuable to us. Third, acceptance. We want to be part of this galactic community, not as conquerors or servants, but as partners. Thalrix rose from his seat. The council will deliberate on this matter. But I believe I speak for many when I say that humanity's desire for peace is evident. Captain Hayes, would you and your crew be willing to remain at the station while we discuss the terms of formal contact? Of course, Linda agreed. We have waited 200 years. A few more days will not hurt. The council session ended, and the human delegation was escorted to guest quarters that had been hastily modified for their biology. The rooms were larger than standard, with reinforced furniture and adjusted gravity. That evening, Jacob found Linda standing at a viewport, staring out at the stars. How do you think it went? He asked. Better than I feared, she admitted. They are scared of us, but they are also curious. That is a start. We proved we are not monsters today, Jacob said. That has to count for something. Linda smiled. We proved we are human. Flawed, strong, curious, and hopeful. If that is not enough, then maybe the galaxy is not ready for us. But 3 days later, the council delivered its verdict. By a vote of 15-2, humanity was welcomed into the Galactic Council as provisional members. Trade routes would be established. A mission would be organized to help find Earth. And most importantly, humans would be treated as equals, with all the rights and responsibilities that came with council membership. As Linda signed the formal agreements, surrounded by delegates from across the galaxy, she thought about the long journey that had brought them here. 200 years lost in space, searching for a new home. And in the end, they had found something better. A galaxy full of friends, allies, and endless possibilities. The defiant spirit would eventually find its way back to Earth, carrying news that would change human civilization forever. Humanity was no longer alone. The stars were full of life, and there was room for everyone. But that was a story for another day. For now, Linda Hayes and her crew had accomplished the impossible. They had taken a species from a Deathworld and proven that even the harshest origins could not stop the human spirit from reaching for the stars. As the celebration began, Humans and aliens mingling together for the first time in history, Jacob raised his coffee mug in a toast. To humanity, he said. The galaxy's newest and friendliest Deathworlders. The aliens, sipping their carefully prepared non-toxic beverages, agreed wholeheartedly. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same.